During all these years of conferencing and ICMS, we often get asked what is going on in your company. And we're going to give a short and sweet update on what's going on. Thijs, our CEO, spoke a little bit this morning about some of the major changes. I'm going to try to put a few numbers on it, and then Mads is going to talk a little bit about some of the biology and research projects that we are investing in. So I guess the theme for Sophion in general is investing in ion channels. And this is also why we're spending a lot of our time and resource on a meeting like this. But we also building a better platform for the company, which means since we sat here a year ago, we basically onboarded around 20 people. Today we're around 110. And just to give you an example of the growth and the investment that we are putting into the company, when I joined approximately 2 years ago, we were around 70 people. So we are investing both in the front end, to support, obviously collaborations and relationships and existing and new customers, but definitely also investing in facilities to become a better partner with the ion channel community. Recently, we also had the pleasure of moving into new facilities. Some of you have been there. It's actually been cleaned up since February, where we had a user meeting, but we moved into a much bigger facility. It's not so nice looking from the outside, but actually pretty nice from the inside. And that is also then again to generate or to build a better platform for supporting ion channel and our investment in ion channel research and development of our technologies. Last but not least, we have invested significant in local regions, meaning getting more application scientists, getting more service staff, more commercial people closer to the ion channel customers and communities, so we can, provide, the service and the quality that Sophion stands for. I'll show you some numbers in a minute. That means in numbers, basically, that for a small company like us, we, over the last 12 months, have contributed to more than 85 publications. We hosted 3 regional ICMS meetings. We have this one, we have one in Japan, one in the US. We attended more than 90 conferences. We did research projects in Denmark. We did some grant awarding and a lot more. So we are trying to undertake a fundamental responsibility in facilitating science community and collaboration between us and you, basically. But we are also delivering innovation from a technology point of view, something that Mads knows a lot more about in detail, but just to give you a few highlights, we did launch some cloud integration for data. Data is becoming more and more important for analysis, so we are now moving data into the cloud and working on that. We're looking also at data science as an area where we're looking at more than 20 years of data to understand it better. But for doing that, we also need to improve our database structures in our technologies and improve software and analysis tools, etc. Then, obviously, we are also working on some of the core hardware parts of our business, so working on improving our amplifiers, developing new features such as adaptive current clamps, something that Mads will talk a little bit about in his presentation. And then we continue to put a lot of investment into the Q-Patch Compact, where we launched temperature control and also some light guidance so users could better use the technology. So a lot of investment, a lot of time, a lot of effort going into continuously improve the technologies that we are delivering. Finally, and something, again, we'll hear more about in Mads' speech, we are obviously continuously working with our scientists to develop and further pioneering ion channel research. That means expanding the ion channel catalog, focusing on different new assays and developments within what we do. And to take you into a little bit more detail on that topic, I would like to hand over to Mads, who is our global product manager for the Cube and CubePatch platforms. Here you go, Mads.
Right, thank you, and hello everybody. Yeah, my name is Mads. In contrast to Michel, I've been with the company for actually 11 years, and it has been a journey, a very interesting journey, and all the expansion that I have been part of and enjoyed is also something that we want to bring to you guys as much as possible. We are obviously a company, a commercial company, but we are so much focusing on being part of the whole society that we don't only call you guys customers, we like to call you collaborators and users, because we really appreciate all the feedback we get from you, because you are the major part of the development that we are going through. So, so with that, am I still on the mic if I walk a little bit around freely? I'll be the first one to stand over here then.
If you're doing, put your mic on. Good. Well done.
Isn't it on?
That's on.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll try to stand over here then. Yeah, we have heard a lot today, very interesting talks about how ion channels are important in both health and disease, and we want to be part of that. So that is definitely our mission to support that. Both the study as such of ion channels and of course the modulation when we try to find new therapies for interacting with ion channels, where even if they are the cause of a disease or maybe only carrying some of the symptoms relating to a disease. So generating new knowledge and create new methods and technologies is what we will do. And in our R&D department, we have tried to have no sort of boundaries. We want to be novel, creative, uncertain of the outcome. Of course, some systematic approaches, and then we want to transfer it to you and in a manner that can be reproduced. This slide is meant to give you an idea of that. The right-hand side is, of course, the easy one to explain. As I said, we are commercial. We need to make some means of fueling the rest of this slide. But that is indeed what we want to do. So we have some grants. We have a lot of collaborations. We invite you in. We want to share as much as possible. We want you to share with us as much as you can and demand from us what you see coming. We saw some single channel recordings in one of the talks today. We cannot do that yet, but it might be something we want to look into. For example, if we feel that that there are some grounds for that, that would definitely be very interesting for us. Also in terms of cells, I mean, we were born out of cell lines. Things have been cloned. More or less every channel you know of has been expressed in a cell line, and that's the easier way for us to handle this. But we also like to do something with quote-unquote real cells. We are still limited in the sense that we need to have them in suspension, but that doesn't stop us. So whether we do take offset in primary neurons or iPSC neurons, we can culture them and make them single cell suspension and actually rather successfully put them on our platforms. Our little sister, the CubePatch Compact, is equally well suited for that. So we could do ligand gain recordings of various kinds, GABA, AMPA, even though they are challenging. And what we have learned in this avenue is that much of the success actually lies in the before instrument time and effort, namely the cell handling. So this procedure, we don't talk super much about that on the slide level, but all of you know how important that is to obtain a successful recording. Having an in-depth knowledge about how we handle our cells and how we go from their natural setting into something rather unnatural for most of the cells and then successfully onto the instruments. And therefore also we always encourage you to contact us if you have some ideas that you want to try out. We might have some knowledge that we can share with you to do this. Light stimulation is something we did actually some years back. It was very hot back then. Then it went a little bit silent, and now it's a little bit like fashion, I guess. Now it's back up again. Maybe we sense that there's some activity, some interest out there. We did it originally on Cube, but why not just make a light sword and stick it into the compat, and then do some kind of light stimulation on our little sister. And that can indeed be done. You can use that for, well, light stimulation per se, or you can utilize it to uncage and thereby release a compound very, very quickly in the vicinity of a relevant receptor or ligand-gated ion channel. So not only neurons, but also cardiomyocytes and from organoids is something that we have looked into. This is what they like to look like, but just as I said before, we need to get them into suspension, and we can do that and get them differentiated into, of course, you know everything about ion channels from iPSC-derived sources, but here we can also successfully get cardiomyocytes, and we can appreciate that we can actually record all the constituents making up the heart action potential. The adaptive current clamp feature that Michel just briefly mentioned is a further development of the adaptive voltage clamp functionality that we have, because of course we are proud of having these instruments that are also automatic, but that also comes with could come with a limitation in the fact that it does the same thing to all the cells. So we have developed means to interrogate every single cell on an individual basis, use the response online, on the fly, to adapt to the natural biological variation we all know is coming from these cells. So you can either want some kind of biophysical characteristics that is varying a little bit, or who knows, maybe a little bit different expression levels or auxiliary subunits that are more or less present in a given single cell. So with adaptive current clamp, we can also take advantage of such an approach where we say, okay, now I want to be sure to start off with having my cells at -90 millivolts. So I ask the instrument to do that, and it can then adapt individually to each single cell whatever current it takes to give that cell a starting point at -90, for example. The shaded area indicates a sort of the interval that you as a user will accept, and the little dotted line is then a rescue value, you could call it, in case it falls outside of that acceptance interval, so that you get as many experiments as possible. But ideally, you get, of course, everything adapted to every single cell. So therefore, instead of having something looking like this, you can get something that looks a little bit more, or much more physiologically relevant in terms of an action potential. Here is an example, and I hope you have noticed that up here there have been many collaborators. I haven't mentioned them, but as I said, to begin with, we cannot do this ourselves, so it's all depending on a lot of help from outside. Here we have organoids that are being matured. While they are still organoids, they're being matured into cardiomyocytes, and then separated, and you can measure both contractility, and in our case, we can measure single cell action potential from these. But, oops, sorry. The message here is that they have been as an organoid all the way through to mature cardiomyocytes before we separate them and put them on the instrument. Again, from a neuronal perspective, a midbrain organoids, same thing goes. Our collaborators here use either sharp electrodes or multi-electrode arrays, but they accept to be, again, separated into single cells, put on the instrument, and I thought there was supposed to be some data. Anyhow, it does work. We also like to look into another type of difficult cells, either cells that are very, what do you call that? Not so structural, so they tend to sneak through the holes in our plates, and organelles that are also prone to sneak through because they are just small. So in order to do that, both the erythrocytes and the various small cellular constituents, we need to have small hole consumables. People have actually already asked me during the breaks whether we have that on the shelf. We do not yet have that, or currently have that for the Q plate family, but for the Q chip we do, and we are getting very soon, meaning half year kind of time frame, also small hole Q plates, so that you can apply that to these other type of special cells. We have some already done some recordings from the red blood cells where we have seen piezo and Gardner's channel. We can play with various kinds of shear stress to provoke a piezo response, and we can also measure the voltage steps, the Gardner's channel. So all in all, this is to take you through some of the non-cell line based approaches that we put a lot of effort into together with you guys, and any kind of suggestions or crazy ideas that you might come up with are more than welcome. We are currently in a collaboration that we just started this spring on the lysosome approach together with Oriya and Metron. Oriya is making the lysosomes, Metron is measuring from them, and we are also participating from the Sophion side. No data yet, but we are looking very much forward to see the outcome of this. Michel already mentioned it, but just to remind you that in case some of this sounds interesting for you, and you happen to not have an instrument yet, we have this instrument grant together with the travel and the research grant. We have just launched an instrument grant that you are more than welcome to apply for, and then we'll have a committee that will evaluate the applications and grant you access to an instrument for up to a year. So don't hold back. Please come forward. And with that, thank you for your attention. And now it's time for beer, I think.
Okay, thank you very much, Michel and Mads. And please, any questions? Any ideas for new products that you want to ask these two?
Or beer.
Or just, yeah, would you just like to go
They
to
just
beer?
wanna
Here we
know
go.
where they're getting beer.
Yeah.
Is the mic coming?
In relation to the shear stress activation of piezo, so is it provided by a solution with a pipette flow?
Yes.
Okay, and for mechano channels, do you have other solutions or just
Yeah,
like poking?
it depends a little bit on the instrument in question. So the cube can or delivers the liquid by the pipetting mechanism, so more higher or slower speed is one way, whereas the Q-patch family is applying it with suction and pressure, and there you can play with that instead, making pressure protocols.
Okay, I have a question. So with the Q-patch compact, you can go up in temperature.
Yes.
You can control the temperature. Do you start to see kind of loss of membrane integrity at some point, or?
To our a little bit surprise, I mean, if you have had some experience with manual leaf, at elevated temperatures, your cells will be very, very wobbly and fragile. We actually don't see that as a limitation, no. We can heat them up to almost boiling point. So, I mean, they actually stand that treatment quite well. Yeah.
All right. Must be boiling all our cells. All right. Well, thank you very much, Michel and Mads, and thank you to all our speakers this afternoon.